Most BMX riders train hard, they're in the gym, they're riding heaps, they're doing more than people around them, but for some reason they don't get any faster. I saw this firsthand when I was riding more competitively. I was never the fastest rider down the start hill, but I was almost always the fastest rider on the track. And that wasn't talent, that was how I trained and avoided these really common mistakes. Today, I'm going to break down the 5 mistakes that are quietly holding BMX riders back and exactly how you can fix them. If you can even fix 1 or 2 of these, I can guarantee you're going to have way more speed on the track. Let's get into it. The first and most common mistake in BMX training is overtraining. This usually hits the most motivated riders first. They think if they can handle more, they should do more. I used to be like that when I was younger. I used to stack sessions back to back to back, and what actually happened was I would feel cooked more often than not. BMX isn't about surviving sessions, it's about showing up and producing power with our training. When I was riding my best, I wasn't training to full intensity. I had days where I'd show up to training and I would leave feeling like I could have done more, but that's not weakness, that's strategy. How to fix overtraining. You want 2 or 3 hard days per week with real recovery between them. If your sprint quality drops or your legs feel cooked between the session, that can be your sign to wrap the session up there and move on. We're not here to kill our legs. We're here to train fresh enough to produce power because that's what matters in BMX most. The fastest riders aren't always the ones who train the most, but they're the ones who recover the best. So think of this when you train your next training session. The next mistake is skipping track work. This normally starts when riders start taking the gym more seriously. I've seen riders squat more than ever, be as strong as ever, but for some reason they're still as slow as ever, and that's because they always skip their sessions. When we're training the gym, the strength does not automatically transfer over onto the bike. When I was racing, I never skipped track days, and this showed because I never had the fastest gait, but I was always one of the best around the track, and that's because I trained the track properly. I would never skip a track day for a gym day, even though the short gait sessions matter. How I'd fix it. Every single week when we're training, I would suggest adding at least 1 gait focus session where you go to the track feeling fresh, working on that gait to the first turn, and then 1 where you work on the track and fitness, working on track speed and track skills. The gym does support your riding and make you faster, but at the end of the day, the most important priority should be on the bike because that is where we're racing. The next mistake I see people doing is when they're training the gym, they have no program. They're just showing up, training random lifts, random weights, random reps, and they have no idea what they're doing. A lot of riders train super hard, but they actually can't tell you what they trained last week, what their weights were, if they're improving in the gym, or what their goals in the gym are. They kind of just show up and they train when they feel like it and what they feel like. When I was riding my best, I had a coach. I would be going to the gym, I had clear reps, clear weights, and I had clear progression, which can keep you motivated, and also it allows you to see your sessions actually work. How to fix this? You need structured movements, you need a planned session, and you also need to plan your rest days to make sure your gym sessions have at least 1 or 2 full days of rest. For example, I train legs on Monday and Thursday, which gives me Tuesday and Wednesday to rest, where I'll still train track work and sprint work, but I have 2 days off gym, so I can come into my Thursday session feeling fiery. If you don't have a structured program, well, luckily for you, I've gone and created a 16-week strength block. You can go into my Instagram, which I'll put right here, and go and DM me, and I will send that across to you, and you can follow my 16-week plan I used to come second in Australia. Mistake number 4, not eating enough. When we start training gym, sprints, and track, we're most likely training between 6 and 10 times per week. So it is super important that we're eating like an athlete. If we're under eating, missing our protein, missing our carbs, missing our calories, we're going to feel flat, tired, and get no progression to our sessions. It's super common that riders can undereat when they're training because they're trying to stay lean. I've done this myself before. You feel light, but you also feel flat with poor recovery, and for some reason you're training hard day in, day out, and your times are actually getting slower. When I was riding my best, I wasn't under eating. I was eating enough to recover, that way my sessions were all top notch. How to fix it? You don't need a perfect diet. You need protein for each meal, carbs around training, and enough food to be fueled properly. Look, if you're going to the gym sessions and your legs are still sore from the previous one, or you're dreading the session and your weights aren't moving, you're probably not eating enough. So a simple thing you can do is go to an online calorie calculator, put in maintain, and then look at that number and try and track your food, see if you're getting there. Mistake number 5, not tracking your lifts. This is actually a really big one because if you're in the gym and you're training and you're not tracking your lifts, how do you know you're improving? I found when I started tracking my lifts on a notepad in the gym, I found I had a clear goal, which was to beat last week's reps or to beat last week's weight and allow me to push myself. And I could see the clear linear progression going up. Some weeks it might have been down, but the overall trend, you can see it going up. Because when you track your gym movements, your strength gains become predictable, which then means your on-track speed gains can become predictable also. Because the hard work in the gym is kind of useless if we can't progress and track our movement. How to fix it? It's super simple. You can be old school and use a journal, or you can get an app called Heavy and put your sessions in there. All you have to do is track your sets, track your weights, and track your reps. That way when you're training, the next time you train that same session, you can look it back in your notes or you can look back in your app and you can see the weights you did. The goal is to aim to improve. We're not going to get stronger every single gym session, but as long as we can see that our progression is going up, it means we're doing the right thing and getting somewhere with our training. All right, go and fix these 5 things and you'll see your training starts to work with you rather than against you, and you're going to see some strength gains you didn't think were possible. You don't need more sessions. All you need sometimes is more structure. So go out there and train smart, ride your bike, recover properly. And again, if you want my free 16-week strength block, DM me Instagram here and I will send it over to you.